How were the Great Pyramids built? Well, that's a question as old as time. But there seems to finally be a real lead, so why is nobody talking about it? Well, we'll get into that, but first, understand what people claim happened. And by the end of this video, you'll be shocked to say the least, and you'll know why people don't want you to know the truth. There's tons of theories, but to understand just how ridiculous most are, we have to add context. So, have you heard of Cleopatra, the last ruler of ancient Egypt, wealthy queen who had affairs with Julius Caesar? Yes, her. Well, for context, we're closer in time to Cleopatra than she was to the construction of the Great Pyramids. So, yeah, they are really old. Now that you have at least an idea just how old they are, around 4,500 years to be in fact, we can begin to explain how ridiculous the claims of the pyramid's construction are. The most common claim is the ancient Egyptians used ramps to construct the pyramids. Sounds like a satisfactory answer, until you realize each stone weighed anywhere from 2.5 to 15 tons, and the stones on the inside weighed about 50 tons each. For context, a new Ford truck weighs less than 2 tons. Oh, and there's about 2.3 million of these stones in the Great Pyramid. Oh, and they're all placed so precisely and accurately that it forms a perfect angle at the top. Not a single stone is misaligned by even 1 centimeter, otherwise, when you get to the top, the whole shape would be messed up. Oh, and these stones came from a quarry about 15 kilometers away, or about 10 miles away. Now, that's a lot of numbers. So, what does all this information mean? Well, it means the claims that Egyptians use ramps is about as likely as you subscribing and checking out my video on the Library of Alexandria. No, I'm kidding. You'll do that anyway. No, it's about as likely as a human jumping off the Empire State Building, landing face first on the busy street below, and surviving the fall. That could be an exaggeration, but you get the point. Extremely unlikely. So then, how are they built? See, that's where it gets very interesting. We couldn't even construct these pyramids today with all the technology, equipment, and manpower we have. So logically, our brains can't comprehend how they were constructed. And usually, when humans can't make logical sense of something, they don't believe it. Except, you can't not believe in the pyramids because they're still standing today, so what gives? See, many scientists say it must have been ramps because that's the only thing they can think of, and they must have spent hundreds, if not thousands, of years constructing the pyramids. And slowly but surely, piece by piece, they put them together. Well, we already discussed why that's extremely unlikely and borderline impossible, and history has no other satisfactory answers as to how these giant structures came to be. And that's where one of my favorite quotes comes into play. It reads, "The eyes are useless when the mind is blind." What that means is, it doesn't matter if you show someone the evidence, if their preconceived ideas won't allow them to believe the evidence, they're not going to believe it. Now, I'm not some crazy conspiracy theorist, but I am smart enough to know we've lost more ancient history than we found. Which leads me to my beliefs. Take a look at this ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic. At first glance, it looks kind of normal. But look at this, and then this, and then this. Now, I'm no great historian, but that looks like a helicopter, some sort of spaceship, and some sort of other flying saucer. So, what does that mean? Well, that's the thing. We don't know exactly what it means. But remember my favorite quote: "The eyes are useless when the mind is blind." We see helicopters and spaceships, but if our mind tells us they didn't exist until the last few decades, we'll chalk it up to being a random picture and not a flying object. But if we listen to our eyes, we'll think the ancient Egyptians must have had some lost technology that was similar to what we have today, or perhaps even more advanced than what we have today. Don't worry, I'm fastly approaching my point. My point is, why don't we seriously talk about the possibility that makes the most sense? The ancient Egyptians had flying objects. whether it was help from the aliens or simply a lost technology they created on their own that aided them in building the world's biggest mystery to date. I mean, it makes more sense than 10-mile long ramps with humans dragging millions of multi ton stones and placing them in a scarily precise location over the course of potentially thousands of years. So, yes, call me a conspiracy theorist if you must, but I believe it wasn't aliens that aided the Egyptians, but simply an extremely advanced civilization, advanced in their own unique way, that was able to use these spaceships to get all the perfect measurements and lift these massive stones into place. Is it possible it was the aliens who had a good relationship with the Egyptians? Absolutely. I just think the Egyptians had their own form of technology allowing this to happen. And whether it was a biblical like flood, an asteroid, or whatever catastrophic event, something happened to send humans back to the Stone Age, eliminating all evidence of previous technology. Now, obviously, there's no concrete evidence to support my claims, just like there's no evidence to support any claim. And that's why I'm kind of making the point that I'm making. If we don't know what happened all those years ago, why are we so quick to discredit any opinion? And that's the beauty of the mysteries of this world. There's always time for more conversation, always time for more claims, and never enough evidence to support them. Maybe one day we'll know the actual truth of the pyramids, or maybe somebody already does know the truth. They just can't let the public know, or there would be chaos. Either way, the Great Pyramids will continue to be a major talking point until the end of times. So there you have it. Subscribe to help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers and never miss another thought-provoking video. Be sure to comment and let me know what you think happened. I'll be uploading twice a week from here on out, so turn on notifications to stay up to date. And remember, I'm just an individual who's fascinated by the ancient echoes of our world. What do I know?